the other day, I was watching a clip of a previous episode, and after watching it and listening in on it, my son, who was 15, came up and just kind of asked, am I an atheist?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I asked him, well, what do you believe? What is your stance on this? Mm-hmm. Do you believe that a God exists or gods exist or anything like that? And he said, no, I don't. So essentially, I said, basically, that's what an atheist is.
Yep.
I tried to kind of explain to him a little bit more about my stance as an atheist, because I've been an atheist for a few years now, as well as my wife, who's been an atheist for quite a few years. And I think I may have butchered some of the explanation a little bit. I'm not the greatest at public speaking or getting a lot of my points across. Okay. So I was just looking for he was just wondering what an atheist can be, or what resources that him at 15 he could look for to help educate himself as an atheist.
Okay, so let's do this in two parts. So I want to help you because you're the caller, and then at the end we'll throw out some resources for your son, if that works for you.
Yeah.
Okay, so why don't you describe to me what your position is on atheism, the one that you were attempting to fill your son in, and when there's something that's unclear, or I think that there's a problem, I'll jump in or ask a question. So what is your position on stuff?
Well, to me, I don't believe that there is any demonstrable evidence that a god or gods exist.
Okay.
And personally, I think that religion as a whole, or organized religion, through indoctrination, brainwashing, whatever you want to call it, is a subliminal or slight form of almost child abuse. They're not given the choice into what they are allowed to believe or not. They're just said, hey, your mom and dad are Christian, Muslim, Buddhist, whatever. That's essentially what you're going to be, and they're going to fall into that pattern. But then he's now kind of looking at things in a different way by asking questions, and I want to be able to foster that.
Okay. I just would push back a little bit on the definition, but I want you to move forward.
Okay.
The definition that you gave about religion, I just would push back just a little bit in that there's a slight implication of intent that most of the time isn't there. I agree that it's there in some cases where people are behaving dishonestly, but I think most of the time when you're talking to somebody who is religious, someone who's Christian, somebody who's Muslim, or whatever the case may be, that they're using the best tools that they have at their disposal, that they really think that based upon how they understand the universe to work. And so I don't think that you have a lot of dishonesty, which I think is implicit. I think that you can absolutely abuse a child unintentionally.
Yeah.
And so I just want to draw the distinction that I don't think there's a lot of, intentional misdirection in the church or in religion in general. I think a lot of people are just using the best tools that they have, and a lot of those tools just are not very good. But please continue.
Okay. No, and I totally agree with you. I just may not have got my point across exactly as I could have. I'm not a great speaker, so
no, it's all good.
I think Abe was jumping in on the word child abuse.
Yeah, but that's all.
Yeah, understandable.
Okay. Go ahead.
So it's a trigger word. So anyway, so I don't have a lot of, I guess, a lot of material that he may understand to better further his education in this aspect. He's not with me all the time. He usually, most of the time, he's with his mother. We've been divorced for a number of years. So I'd only get him every so often. I want to be able to leave him with some tools to help better educate himself. And I just don't know exactly if there's any good or what good tools for his age group maybe at 15.
Well, so
is it too self-serving if we say he should watch our show?
Well, I think
he's watching it right now.
Yeah, dig it. Hey.
Hello, son.
Hello,
Casey.
So two things. Number one, Parenting Beyond Belief is a show at the ACA, and they talk about this stuff every week. I think it'd be a great show to call into for that. Neither of us are parents, but I can give you the best advice that I have. And the best advice that I have is it's absolutely fantastic to foster questioning. Say, hey, I don't know that either. Let's look it up. Or even if you do know that and you don't know why you know that, let's look it up together. Right. Let's actually go out and have fun and dig in and learn how to study things. It's a wonderful exercise that everybody should be doing. And that is absolutely something that you can model.
Right. And that's what I told them last night after I realized I was maybe not portraying it or expressing myself the best way possible, was the best thing you can do is ask. Keep asking those questions. Don't just accept something to accept it.
Right.
So, okay.
Definitely call into Parenting Beyond Belief. And there's a book by Dale McGowan called Parenting Beyond Belief. And
show that its name as well.
It helps, and Dale's actually one of the hosts on that show.
So what I would say is that's good advice for Casey, but as far as resources for your son, there's sort of two subjects that I heard you describe when you were talking about what you talked about with your son. They're very closely related, and so they get sort of muddled, which is whether or not you believe a God exists and what effect you believe religion has on society. So,
right.
Right, like I can believe that golf isn't really that great a sport, but that, golf... I was about to say golf clubs, but I mean like groups that play golf are, a way that business occurs and therefore useful for society, although I think they take up too much land. The point being that it's an example of the difference between believing, having opinions about the effect of a human institution and, having metaphysical claims or not accepting metaphysical claims about the nature of the universe. Okay. So what is true is one thing to approach. And I feel like, education on skepticism, there's all of the things that are produced by the ACA, as well as the podcast, The Skeptic's Guide to the Universe is pretty good. It's also pretty science-y. Yeah. However, if you are also wanting to provide information about what effect religion and organizing around religious beliefs has had on the world, I would recommend God Is Not Great, How Religion Poisons Everything by Christopher Hitchens, because that's actually a pretty detailed, erudite accounting of all of the things that religious organizing has how that's affected the modern world. As far as, philosophy and epistemology, I think explaining, question everything, determine what you believe is true about claims about reality, whether or not this mug exists, based on evidence.
And two other things for your son specifically. Mm-hmm. Number one, Casey's son. Go to other churches.
His name is James. If you don't.
Hey, James. James. Well, go to different churches. Go see how the other half lives. There's nothing wrong with exploring and questioning, and it's absolutely only going to help you better understand the world around you if you see how other people behave and interact. You don't need to be a jerk about it. You can be respectful, go in, and just see how it is. And then the other thing is, and I'm sure I don't need to tell him, there's tons of resources. There are some amazing science communicators on YouTube. There's some great debates. There's a wealth of knowledge out there that you can explore and check out, but just make sure that you're not being force-fed something and you don't know why. Ask those questions. It's fantastic to be able to do that. I'll tell you right now, that's all I do. Whenever I have the extra time, I'm popping up Holy Kool-Aid or Genetically Modified Skeptic. I'm learning about how cults, bring people in. I'm learning about how, hucksters have fooled people into thinking that magic exists. I love learning about how those kinds of things happen, how the world works, and that science. It's exciting. It's exhilarating. Yeah. Definitely. I don't think I need to tell your son to watch more YouTube, but it actually helps.
Not a problem.
That natural curiosity is something you should absolutely foster and dig in. I think Go ahead, Jamie.
The most important place to start is a solid epistemology and skepticism and learning to doubt yourself, because it's something that for the most part, most people, I think, should improve on, and it's something that's difficult for everyone. And the moment that you think, oh no, I've got a handle on this, is the moment that you start down the path to believing whatever trutherism you want to name, particularly on YouTube, because there's a lot of,
agreed,
things like that. I would say as far as YouTube is concerned, it would also be helpful to check out Captain Disillusion, because there's lots of videos of
Dark Matter 2525.
Yeah, but I would say Captain Disillusion, because it's a entirely different sort of approach, which is just, hey, you saw a video on YouTube. It's probably bullshit.
How can you tell?
Look at this phenomenon. Oh, look, the plane has frozen still in the sky. It's a glitch in the Matrix. That one annoys me the most.
But moving on.
But not moving on, because it's incredibly important, particularly if your resource is YouTube. You have to be aware of what content you're being fed, because you can be shown, particularly if you're not aware of things, a lot of crap that can pull you in, right? I think there was a point in time after I deconverted, while I was still learning to be a good skeptic, where a particular disingenuous, I'll use the word documentary because that's the way it describes itself, persuaded me that there was a problem in our schools as far as the approach to teaching intelligent design. Because I started off curiosity and I hadn't strengthened my skepticism yet. The world is an interesting and dangerous place, and the best tool you have to learn about it is scientific skepticism. There's also, holy shit, how have I not said this? There's the, because I don't remember the name. Fuck.
No worries.
It's great courses on skepticism. I'll post about it everywhere that I can post things. Facebook, Twitter, at Jamie the Heathen.
Yeah, one of the best ways we can describe skepticism is I am not 100% certain that I exist.
Well,
right, but I need to. I
don't
live.
know if you exist either.
Right, I live in such a way that I have to assume that I do. And that assumption isn't on nothing. That assumption is on the best evidence that I have. But if you were to give me sufficient evidence, I could be persuaded to believe otherwise, because I just want to know what is true. And so if I am living in a world where I'm not 100% that I exist, then that skepticism gives me the ability to try my best to question everything, because when I stop questioning things, that's when you get dogma, and that's when you get down the wrong hole. But Casey, we want to move on to the next two callers. Thank you so much for calling, and we hope this helped.
Yeah, and let us know how it's going.
Guys, keep up the good work. Yeah, definitely.
Thank you.
Keep up the good work. We love the show.
I love you too, man. Yay.